Okay, good day everyone. Welcome to this recording, and today we'll be practicing our 3D AutoCAD skills, no? And I'll be also showing you how to create multi-view projections and isometric drawing from the 3D model that you've created, as well as showing the sectional view of that 3D model. All right, so let's get started. I've chosen a reference from the internet, no? And we can attach it para mas madali, no? Instead of doing the split screen na ginagawa natin in class, ang gawin na lang natin is let's attach the image directly into our CAD file. Tapos, pwede nating i-view na lang siya as we go along, no? Okay, so we type the command xref, or pwede rin siyang hanapin nyo. It's somewhere in insert, no? Insert tapos external reference. But it's always just easier to use the commands, no? Okay, so I'm typing xref, then a pop-out will appear, and let me show the pop-out baka hindi kita. Ayan. So this is the pop-out. It will look something like this, and I've already inserted the reference here, no, 3D. Pero if hindi siya lumabas dito, then you can always add. So you can attach an image like this. Tapos hanapin nyo siya in your folders, and this is my 3D practice, and this is from Khalid Mahmood, no. I think you can find him in YouTube, but I just found this in one of the free learn CAD na websites, no. Right? So if you attach it, then you can specify kung saan nyo siya gustong i-attach. I'll specify on screen, so I'll press OK. And if I just close this first, no, close ko muna to. May lalabas na ganito. I always just like to insert para hindi ako maligaw, no. Usually, ini-insert ko lang siya sa 0, 0, no. So I'll just do 0, 0, and that will insert it at the origin, no? Okay, and I press enter. And for the scale, I'll just do 1. So enter ko lang. And kung hindi siya kita, it's probably because either masyado maliit or masyado malaki. So if you want to place the image within the window, just type in zoom or Z, enter, tapos right click nyo, tapos zoom extends tayo, and it will zoom in kung ano man yung image. If you had more elements, no, mangyayari sa zoom extends is that if try niya i-fit into the available window lahat ng elements na meron kayo. Okay? So, this is our reference image. It's sort of, I'm not sure how to call this, no? Para siyang, it's some sort of fitment siguro. It's a part, and ang gagawin lang natin is we want to recreate these parts, and the dimensions are already given for us, so this should be relatively easy. Maraming ways to do this, no? And especially for when we're 3D modeling, there are many ways to do this, pero perhaps the simplest one is to sort of outline the profile of that image, tapos lalagyan natin ng thickness siya, usually through either the extrude command or the press pull command. For me personally, press pull command yung ginagamit ko because it's quite versatile, no? It's more versatile than extrude command, and press pull has all the functionalities of the extrude command built in, no? So if you had the choice, I think press pull yung i-master nyo para kasi you'll be using it a lot, no? Okay? So we can probably start with this. Parang we can do it in two parts, no? Pwede sigurong one part will be etong section na to with this parang cylindrical tube. Etong tube na to plus this sort of rectangular platform. Tapos doon sa kabilang side, ito naman, ito parang may T-shape plus the horizontal naman na pa-horizontal na tube, no? So we can do it in two parts, then we merge it together afterwards. Okay? I think that's the simplest way to do this particular piece, no? Okay? So let's start with the circle first kasi mas madali siya. And again, ang goal natin is we want to simplify. So what we can do is try to get the profile of the circle and the profile of this parang rectangle. Then after that, mag-extrude na lang tayo afterwards or press pull tayo to give it volume. Okay? So let's start with circle first. And we can start anywhere, no? Pwede siguro dito lang sa tabi para hindi tayo masyadong malayo dun sa reference image. So I'll first create the inner circle first. So I'll do circle, and the radius daw is the diameter, I mean, is 20. If you look at this image right here, no? Sabi daw, this is the diameter, the symbol for diameter, if you remember. Tapos the symbol for radius is letter R, no? Capital letter R. Okay, so this is diameter of 20. So ibig sabihin, pwede tayo mag-create ng circle of radius 20 or radius 10, I mean. Pero if you want to input the diameter, pwede naman i-click nyo to, no? Or press D. If you click diameter or press the letter D, then you can shift it to diameter mode and you can input the diameter itself. So 20. Yan. And 20 is quite large. So ito yung medyo issue, no? Kasi the image itself, the reference image is quite small compared to our the actual objects that we will create. So let me just increase the size of the reference image na lang, no? So ito yung, this is just the interior triangle, the interior circle, no? So pwede sigurong lakihan ko pa ng konti, something like this. Kasi ito, interior circle pa lang to eh. So if I inputted the exterior circle na 65, and let's do that right now, no? I'll turn on my object snapping. Tapos, I'll create a circle from here. Kasi diba, interior pa to. Let's create a circle from here. And again, I'll shift into diameter mode by clicking this chip. Tapos, para pwedeng recta 65 yung input ko, no? Kasi 65 yung diameter dito sa reference natin. Okay, so pwede sigurong lakihan ko pa slightly. Ganyan. I think that's good enough. So, pwede na to. Right? So, right now I'm in 3D modeling pala, no? Just in case hindi nyo kita, let me just bring this down konti. Naka 3D modeling na ako. So, kita na lahat ng mga 3D modeling tools dito. So, to access 3D modeling, you just click this bottom right corner. Tapos, merong cog icon. Merong, yung by default, it's drafting and annotations, no? Parang nakaganyan tayo. This is what we're used to. Yung parang 2D tools. Pero right now, we want to access 3D modeling. Okay, so I'll shift it to 3D modeling. Ito yung nakikita ko. Right? So, I'll just move this out of the way, no? Para hindi masyadong nakakalito. I'll be using commands din. So, mas madali nyo din naman masusunod kahit hindi ko ipakita yung ribbon, no? Right? So, we have this. We have the first one is yung external circle, and we have the internal circle. It's 20. This one is 20, and this one is 65. Okay? Now, let's do itong nasa right side, no? Sorry. Tama. To the right of the circle is meron daw tayong rectangle. And the rectangle is, what's that? It's from the center. And let me zoom in. From the center, so it's, oh no, sorry, not from the center. It's from this point right here, no? Parang ito. From this quadrant. It's 50 whatever dimension this, whatever units this is, no? So it's 50 from this quadrant. Measure daw tayo ng 50 para makuha ito. And we should be able to find kung nasaan itong point na to, no? Itong edge na to. Okay, so what we'll do is, pwedeng gawin natin, we take our line tool, tapos gawa lang tayo ng reference line. We can start here, and this, if you look at this one, no, naka-activate na yung quadrant ko. So this is the quadrant symbol, itong parang diamond na to. And if it's not showing on your side, pwede sigurong you can go into object snapping na options. Make sure that quadrant is enabled, no? Para easily mahanap niyo itong quadrant. So I'll just make a line to the right, and I'll input 50 kasi sabi daw it's 50 millimeters away or 50 units away. And I'm looking at it, parang hindi siya 50 millimeters, no? So let me just review. It's 50. Let me double check. Unless hindi, let me just, measure ko mo lang. I'm just measuring distances first. This 50. I'll do this. This is measuring the distance. So from here to here, it's 32.5. Tama naman, 65. Okay? Unless I'm measuring this from the wrong side, no? No, sorry. I think this one is 50 from this point, no? Mukhang hindi siya from this quadrant. It's 50 from this edge, which is yung quadrant on the larger circle. So if you project it upwards, nandito siya. So quadrant of the larger circle, which means na it is 50 from the center. Kasi this aligns with the center of the, I don't know, of the two concentric circles. So let me redo that. Mukhang ito is 50 from here. Okay, and it's 0 degrees straight siya. So I think this is the correct one, no? Right? So from here, gagawa lang tayo ng rectangle. So you can create the rectangle anywhere you want or kung paano siya gustong i-create. What's the simplest one to create here? I think simplest one is I'll create a rectangle from this quadrant, moving up to this quadrant, then I'll move it to the right. And to track, para mas madali ko mahanap yung point dito, no, itong corner na to, I can type in the dimensions, or pwede namang i-track ko lang siya dito. If I move it here, tapos I'll track it upwards, may tracking line na makikita. And if I want to track it with this point, pwede ko siya i-track dito, track dyan. Mayari is, it should have an intersection point, and it's having a hard time finding that intersection. So, since mahirap siya hanapin, I'll just input it. Alam ko naman na 50 yung width niya, and yung height niya should be 65, which is the diameter of the larger circle, no? So it should be something like this. So I can now delete this. Hindi na to necessary. And in fact, pwede pa lang kahit wala yung reference line na yun, no? I could have easily created this rectangle with the given dimensions. Alright? So ito, and let me just double check, no? Kasi medyo confusing yung ano niya. Kasi we have a 68 na dimension dito. Okay, 68 siya moving towards this edge right here. Pero ito, from here to here, I think it's measured from this one. So 50 siya. Okay? So okay na tayo dyan. So that's the first one. And let's just clean this up a bit, no? Kasi para wala tayong problema later. Probably something like that. We can clean it up para pag nag-press pull tayo, mas madali siya. Okay? So, what we want to do is, imagine na ito, i-increase natin yung dimensions na by whatever thickness this is. So for example, this is 28 na thickness daw, itong parang rectangular base na portion. So we can press pull this 28 by 28 units. Okay? So ang gagawin natin para this is my personal preference, para lang it's easier to look at. Gagawin ko is I want to rotate my view cube, no? Or I'll rotate my view such that slightly angled siya. So I can do that by pressing shift, tapos pressing the middle mouse button, tapos i-rotate nyo siya. And this is the orbit tool, no? So you can orbit. And notice how your drawing will also be now slightly shifted. Pero kung gusto kong balikan ng drawing, I can always press this. If you look at the view cube, press ko yung top, tapos babalik naman siya dito so that I can view it again, no? So again, shift, then middle mouse button to access the orbit command. Okay, so it makes it easier na pag naka-orbit command ka kasi it's slightly angled, so parang mas ma-visualize mo kung saan mo pinipress pull or in-extrude yung certain shapes. Right? So let's press pull this one first. Gusto natin na magkaroon siya ng 28 na height. So let's do press pull and hover natin over the region, and makikita naman natin, no, kung saan yung highlighted region. So it's highlighted in blue. So alam natin ito yung region na ipa-press pull ko. If I move towards this side, kunwari, this one, ang na-highlight naman yung circle. Okay? So make sure na tama yung region na naka-highlight before you press pull. So ito tama yung naka-highlight. So I'm just hovering over the area. If tama na yung naka-highlight, then I just do left click, then pull it upwards. And I'm pulling this by 28. Kasi yun yung height na binigay sa drawing, no? So that's 28. Okay? So meron akong 28. And right now, I'm in a sort of wireframe na na rendering. You could change the rendering kung feeling nyo, kung if you find it difficult kasi ang daming lines na available, you could also do something like kunwari hidden para siyang may shape, no? Hidden is a good na type of rendering din. It has clean lines, tapos pero kita yung volume, walang mga kumbaga hidden lines na nakikita, yung mga lines na obstructed, hindi siya kita. So it makes it, it gives it a better, what you call this, parang perspective, no? Para mas maganda yung niya, real world perspective niya. Mukha siyang real world object, 3D space that has volume, no? Pero if you feel like you can explore other rendering options. You also have shades of gray. You can also do shades of gray. Shades of gray is good kasi may shading siya, so you can further imagine pa yung depth ng object, no? Some students, for some reason, when I teach this class, most students like the conceptual na rendering. So they like to do conceptual. Not sure why, pero most students pagka hinahandle ko yung course na to, ito yung preferred nila na rendering options. For me personally, I either use yung 2D wireframe, hidden, pati itong X-ray, no? X-ray is also good kasi ang maganda sa X-ray is parang wireframe plus shades of gray siya, no? Combination siya. Sometimes kasi gusto ko makita yung lines in behind, and sometimes gusto ko rin with the added benefit of seeing the parang 3D-ness, if you can call it that, no? The volume of the object per se. Okay? So, for now, balik muna ako sa 2D wireframe kasi simple lang naman yung object natin. So, very easy to imagine pa naman siya so far. Okay, so I'll do wireframe first. Right? So, we're done with the 28. So, balik tayo dun sa reference image natin. So, okay na tayo sa 28 na to. Now, let's pull this out. Itong si cylinder by bigyan natin siya ng ng height. Kaso, if you look at this, medyo mahirap siya kasi its overall height ang binigay, yung 48. Pero there is a few parang bababa pa siya dito. From this point, bababa siya. Tapos from this point, aakyat din siya. Okay, so we need to determine kung ano ba yung excess na yun. We could assume na dead center to, no? And that's a fairly good assumption. Dead center to. Kung dead center siya na 48, then therefore, yung doon sa taas would be, that's 28, 48 minus 28 is 20, so tig 10 to. So 10 here and 10 here. But let's try to look at the other dimensions. Baka merong available dimensions na binigay. And I think mukhang ito ang binigay na dimensions. And tama nga yung assumption natin, no? 10. If you look at this dimension here, 10, that is from this point, tama? To this point. Parang ganyan. So, yung additional na additional siya na height na binigay. If tama yung basa ko dito sa dimension na to, no? So, it's 10. Which is the same as yung pag ginawa natin yung no? Calculation. Kung naka-center siya, that's 48, that's 28 to. 48 minus 28 is 20. Yun yung excess. Split between the two. Kasi center siya. So, 10 yung excess dito pataas. 10 din yung excess pababa. Okay? So, what we could do is, since na-press pull na natin pataas itong first part, pwede natin gawin is press pull itong circle na to by, since at it's 28 to, pwede natin press pull siya pataas by 38 para yung excess 10. Then we can press pull it pababa by 10 to give it the final na 48 na units na height. Okay? So, let's do that. So, I'll do press pull. Ito, highlight the circular region. And I'll press pull it pataas. And I'll type in 38. Okay? So, that should give it the additional 10. And para lang mas malinis, I'll do hidden, no? Para mas makita nyo. Parang ganyan. Makikita nyo na meron siyang excess na 10 dito. Right? So, this is still 38. Kailangan natin bigyan ng parang excess din doon sa baba. So, what you can do is, I can just rotate it. Tingnan ko yung sa ilalim naman. And now, I press pull this again. This one, press pull. Pero, pababa naman yung pag-press pull ko dito. And, additional ko na 10. Parang ganyan. And I should have something like this. And, ito, mamaya na nating ililinisin yung mga lines, no? Right now, if you look at, let's do shades of gray, kunwari. Yan. There are other lines that have existed, no? Or that are existing. Kunwari, ito. This is yung, ang tawag dito, yung reference lines na ginawa natin from before. We can delete that as early as now. Or, pwede naman, baka kasi kailangan pa natin, pwedeng hindi mo na natin siya galawin. So, if I hide this, you can also hide, no? Especially when there are parang masyado ng maraming elements on your or objects on your model space. Pwede naman gawin nyo, kunwari gusto kong i-isolate muna to. So you can do isolate to objects. So ito lang yung makikita and they hide the other objects, no? And if you want to end isolation, you just go to right click, isolate, then end object isolation. You can also do is pwede ding may certain areas kayo na kunwari gusto nyo i-hide muna. So pwede ito, hide ko muna to. So right click, isolate, hide objects, and it will show the other objects no, and just hide that particular object. And if you want to make it show again, right click, isolate, and object isolation lang tayo. So that will become very useful later on pag medyo complicated na yung geometries natin. For now, I think kahit ganito, madali lang ma-imagine para yung object, no? Even with the overlaps. Okay, so retain lang muna natin. And again, later na natin clean up yung mga lines natin. Okay, we're done with the first part. Sobrang dali, medyo madali nga lang. So, next is, try natin gawin naman itong parts na to, no? So, let's focus on the T shape first, no? Ito parang T na shape na to. So, let me just zoom in. So, what I'm saying is itong parang T na to. Okay? So, it's attached to this portion. Gagawa tayo ng parang T dyan. So, what we can do is just create two rectangles muna. Itong rectangle na to and itong rectangle na to. Okay? So, the first rectangle is, sabi daw dito, 18. So, it's 18 by, this is spans the entire length din, no? The same length dito. So, that's 18 by 65 din siya. Okay? So, what I can do is, I can create it from the top or I'll create it from the bottom para mas okay pag dito ko siya kinrate sa bottom edge na to, no? Because pwede ko siya i-pull up diretso from this bottom base diretso paakyat. So this will be more convenient to me. And I'll type in 18 tapos 65 naman yung length niya. So I'll have something that looks like this. Tapos ipa-press pull ko na lang siya paakyat. Right? So again, yung videos na sinend ko sa inyo from before, it teaches you how to use the yung press pull command natin, and it also teaches you, especially yung second video na sinend ko sa inyo, which is very important, is yung coordinate system, no. Again, the coordinate system in AutoCAD always works on or most of the tools works on the XY plane. So it's usually you draw something on the XY plane and you pull it upwards on the Z plane. Like for example, a cylinder. If you draw a cylinder, you are required to draw a circle sa XY plane. And currently, ang XY plane natin, if you look at this one, no, XY plane natin is nandito sa ground na to. Tapos Z yung pataas. So, if I try to do a cylinder, the cylinder command is CYL. Draw it on the XY plane. Tapos, ipo-pull up nyo to give it dimension or thickness sa Z, along the Z direction. Okay? Pero later, for example, if we want to do this horizontal na parang nakahiga na cylinder, no, it will require us to change the orientation of the coordinate system, no. So you need to understand na every time you're dealing with AutoCAD tools, you need to be mindful kung ano yung coordinate system you are currently on, no? So right now, you will know the coordinate system by looking at this para drop-down menu dito. So, if I can click this, parang, ayan. So, ngayon, naka-World Coordinate System siya. WCS stands for World Coordinate System. So, this is where yung ground natin is the XY, tapos Z, moving upwards. So. Okay? And you can change the coordinate system depending on what you want. But later on, ituturo ko sa inyo kung ano yung different ways to change the coordinate system. And eventually, kunwari lang, if I change the coordinate system like this, and I'll do face kunwari, and I'll place the coordinate system here. Kunwari ganyan, yun na yung bagong XYZ ko. Notice how nagbago yung block ko dito, no? So, it reflects kung nasaan si XY, nandun actually si top, no? So, if I look here, nandito na yung bagong top niya. Parang ganyan. This is where it has located its top. Okay? So, if ever parang iba na yung orientation ng view box nyo relative to your object, is probably because nabago nyo yung coordinate system in some manner, no? So, you can always move back just by clicking the drop-down menu, tapos WCS nyo lang ulit, babalik siya doon sa original. So, if I click on top again, nakikita ko na yung top view na to, which is the default. Alright? So, right now, puro world coordinate system pa naman yung ginagamit natin. Later pa natin magagamit yung user coordinate system, no? Okay, so balik tayo dito. So, ang nagawa natin so far was we created the ano tawag dito? Yung parang yung 18 na to. Now, let's create this parang yung length nung parang T-shape natin. Which is, if we try to get the dimensions of this one, it's let's try to find it, no? Is it 140? Hindi, yung 140 is yung hanggang sa dulo, no? So it's from here to this final edge. So that's not the dimension we want. Ang kailangan natin is, parang yun nga ata. Tama. It's from this point papunta dito, and this, yung extension line niya is papunta dito sa other extension line. So nagdoble siya ng extension line. No? So this is another extension line coming from itong point na to, or from the center, which is, I'm assuming ito, along the quadrant din siya, no? So it's 140 siya from center, which is also this edge. From the center, papunta dito sa edge na to. So kung 140 yun, let's do a little bit of math. If it's 140, tapos 68 ito, this means na yung remaining would be, let's do, kuha lang ako calculator. Let me get a calculator. Ano ulit yun? So if it's 140, minus 68, so yung remainder is 72 dapat ito. Tama? Kasi 68 comes from here, this edge already, which includes the base of yung parang first rectangle na ginawa natin. Right? So, tama naman siguro. It's 140 yung entire length. So from here, papunta dyan, minus 68. This should give me, no, sorry. Mali. Yung 140 na to comes from the center pala ng circle. Tama? So it's center to center. Which is, okay lang. Kasi ito from the center din pala itong 68 na to. Right? So kung 140 siya, tama pa rin yung ano natin. So this should be 72. 40 minus 68. Double check ko lang 68. Yeah, I think that's correct. So 72, itong part lang na to. Okay? So, gawa tayo ng 72. What's the best way to do this? Probably from the midway point. Ito, gawa lang tayo ng 72 na line. And kung hindi lumabas yung midway point, probably dito sa object snapping lang yan. No? So, dapat lang i-enable nyo yung object snapping na yun. Okay? So, that's parang itong reference na to. Or better yet, better na create na lang ako ng rectangle. No? So, I can just create a rectangle na ganito. And I'll just move this around later on. So, it's 72 by, kunin ko lang yung width niya, no? By 30, no? Ito yung width na yung 30. So, we can create lang muna tayo ng rectangle na 72 by 30. Like so. Tapos ito, move lang natin siya. Let's move it by its center dito. Galawin natin siya. Dikit natin sa center nitong base na to. Okay? And again, same as before, let's trim it down para pag nag-press pull tayo, isang diretso press pull lang siya. So that's this one. Okay? So let's press pull it. The overall height is parang may 10 daw dito. But that's not including the 28 that's already existing here. No? And we did it sa pinaka-base kasi dito. No? So if we want to create the overall height for this one, we'll have to press pull it, papaakyat by 28 plus 10. Tama? So 38 dapat yung total na iakyat niya. Okay? So let's do that. Let's do press pull again. Hover over the area. Ito. Press pull natin siya pataas. And that's again 28 plus 10, no? So we do 38. And that should be our object. Although, no, bakit 10? Hindi pala, sorry. Yung 10 pala na to is this one, no? So, this one is 32 pala, sorry. Ito siya, this is 32. 32, tama? So, let's undo that. Control Z ko lang muna. So, it's 32 pala ito. This is 32 plus 28. So, what's 32 plus 28? That's 60, tama ba? 32 plus 28. 60 nga. Okay? So, let's do 60. So, that's press pull. This one. Press pull natin siya, paakyat. And let's type in 60. Alright. So, that looks good. Yan. Tapos, next natin gagawin is itong, and this, although this is a simple object, no? Pero this part, try natin naman siya. This is probably the most difficult part dito sa example na to. So let's do the circle first. And again, we always draw along the XY. But if we try to draw the circle here, it's always creating the circle in the base, no? Even if I change it to front view kunwari, and I try to create a circle here, mangyari is I'll just create a sort of line kasi it's drawing it along the XY plane. Okay, which is at the ground. So, hindi natin madodrawing yung circle ay yung horizontal na parang tunnel na yun, no? Or yung horizontal na parang pipe na yun. So, again, kailangan natin mag-change ng coordinate system. And to do that, we type in UCS, no? There are many ways to do this. Pwede rin gamitin nyo doon sa top ribbon. May visualize group doon. Pwedeng yun yung gamitin nyo. Pero again, I like to use commands. So, I type in UCS. And probably the easiest parang pwede nating ilagay yung UCS natin is using the face command, no? Kasi we check a face tapos doon natin ididikit. So I can click this one, this face right here na chip, or pwede naman i-type ko F, no? So whatever is naka-italicized, or sorry, whatever is naka-capitalized, yun yung shortcut for that command. So ito gusto ko idikit siya sa isang face, so I'll just type in F. Tapos ididikit ko siya dito sa face na to. So if I left click, tapos parang pwede ko nang i-accept to, I can do enter. Tapos nakadikit na siya. So this is now my XY plane. Ito, yung face na to. So notice nagbago din yung grid, no? Para nakatayo na yung XY ko. And si Zina is moving towards me, kumbaga, moving towards the screen. Okay? So, since okay na yung XY natin, if I created a circle, kumbaga ganyan, it is now creating along the yung new coordinate system ko. Okay? You can actually save coordinate systems, no? Pwede mong i-save to. I forgot how to save the coordinate system itself, no? Kasi ngayon it's unnamed yung nakasulat. I know you can save coordinate system para kung gusto nyong balikan siya. Pero for this exercise, hindi na natin concern na i-save yung coordinate system natin, no? Okay. So now once we're here, gusto natin i-create itong 60 millimeter or 60 whatever units this is, 60 na yung overall height nito, no? This is 60, or sorry, yung overall diameter nung larger, tapos 25 naman sa loob. Let's do the smaller one first. So let's do 25. So it's circle, and I'll find the midway point of this one, and it's shown by the triangle, no? If hindi siya lumabas, you can bukod dito sa midway, kasi this is the 2D option, kailangan nyo din yung object snapping na 3D, no? So in the 3D object snapping, and you can access it by this icon right here. Ito yung 3D object snap. Si 3D object snapping, naka-enable sa akin yung midpoint of edge on edge. So you can also access that, no? And there are a bunch of options here din. Pwede din i-enable nyo siya. Pero for now, vertex and midway point lang yung gagamitin ko. So again, I'm creating a circle dito sa midway point. Create tayo ng a diameter of 25. So I press this chip, tapos para diameter na diretso i-input ko. You can always divide it by 2. Kunwari kung gusto nyo, circle divided by 2 yung diameter to, so that's 12.5, tapos input nyo na lang directly like how we usually do it, no? Pero if ayaw nyo na mag-isip, mag-mental math, then you can always change it to diameter para kung ano man yung nakasulat dito, diretso type nyo na lang. Okay? Now let's type in yung 60. Ito, so let's just type in 30, no? Kasi 60 over 2 is 30. Okay. Right? So, sakto siya. Right? So, we have this. Tapos, ang gagawin na lang natin, extrude na lang natin siya papunta dun sa kabilang side and dito sa side na to. Okay? So, let's do some math here, no? And let me just, the overall width, this one is 30, pero yung overall width ng parang cylinder na to is 50, no? It's 50 here. So, parang 50 minus 30, it's 20. So, 10. So, if again, we assume na dead center to, then 10 papunta dyan and 10 papunta dito. Tama? So, what we can do is, since dinrawing natin siya at this edge, pwedeng gawin natin is, we move 40 papunta dito, then 10 papunta dito on the nearer side. Okay? And that will give us the overall na 40 millimeters. Ano, sorry. Yeah. So, if I try to do press pull, okay, if I press pull to yung 10 muna, let's do press pull. And, okay. Kahit dito, no, if I try to do press pull, ang mangyayari kasi is, it only, kasi whenever you have overlapping regions, if it's a bounded region, parang i-select niya yung mga, kumbaga, yung bounded region na yun, no. So, ang mangyayari is, parang itong buong circle na to, mas-split siya into two bounded areas. Okay? And that's not what we want. Kasi gusto natin kasi na i-pull siya sabay as one area lang. Right? So, for that, pwedeng gamitin na natin yung isolate dito, no? Pwede natin i-hide muna to para ang matitira lang is yung circle na to. And this case, and if we try to do it now, ito buong circle na yung mapupull natin. Okay? So, it makes it easier for us. Pwede natin gawin is I'll pull this papunta dun sa far side by 40. Tama? And then, pull ko ulit siya papunta sa near side, papunta sa akin by 10. And that will give me the overall na dimensions of 10. And if I end object isolation, I should get something like this. And sakto na siya, no? Same na siya dun sa object. And I think we're done, no? Okay na tayo. Mukhang nakuha na natin yung this is an object. And if I view it, I can do world coordinate system lang. And I'll do that one. Para you can also click the corners of your view box, no? Para makita yung parang sort of isometric view niya. So ito, this is what do you call this? That's the north, west, left, front. Tama. This is the northwest na view, no? Okay? So if you look at the northwest view, which is the sort of default na isometric view natin, it's the same as the itong exercise natin na reference image, no? Okay? So, I think okay na to. We're almost done. Pero if you notice, if I just click this one, tapos I'll go to object properties. If you look at the properties, you'll notice na 12 siya, no? 12 yung nakasulat dito. Isang raster image, which is the nasama ko kasi. Sige, let me just select. Kunwari ito. Ito lang. If you look at excuse me. If you look at this is actually made out of 11 different objects, no? We have 4 3D solids, tapos meron tayong a bunch of circles, and meron tayong a bunch of polylines, no? And probably itong circles and polylines were the reference image na ginamit natin, no? And we don't want that, no? Kasi when we now create our multi-view and our sectional views, gusto kasi natin isang single object lang yung meron tayo. Now, for the project, ang gagawin nyo kasi is dapat each parang component of your final project should be one object. Okay, so you have to combine yung components of the same object lang. Okay, or sorry, combine objects of the same component. So dapat yun yung i-merge nyo. Tapos yung other components dapat naka-merge din siya into one component lang din. Okay, so if you have, for example, and your final project is made out of 3 components, dapat pagka sinelect nyo all 3 components while it's assembled, dapat ang lalabas dito sa properties should be 3 dapat yung lumabas if it's 3 components. If it's 2 components lang dapat siya. Okay? So, to make this as one component lang, we use what we call as the union command, no? So, we do union command. Tapos, select lang natin kung ano yung gusto natin i-combine, which is this one. Okay? So, if I select that and then press enter, that will make it one object. And if I click on properties, makikita nyo, 3D solid lang siya. It's one 3D solid, no? And this is what we want. Okay? Now, if I want to further clean this up, kasi I have a lot of reference image. By the way, kulang pa pala to. Sorry. Kasi, yung image natin, okay siya tingnan dito, no? Pero if you look at it from this side, meron siyang additional na parang extra na no? Which is not what we want kasi gusto natin siyang dire-diretso yung butas na yan. As if you look at here, dire-diretso yung butas. So, this can easily be cleaned out, no? And kahit naka-union na siya, okay lang, maki-clean out din natin siya using the press pull command. Okay, so if I do press pull, and I highlight this area right here, and ang gagawin ko lang is, ipupull ko siya. If I pull it here, magkakaroon siya ng additional area. If I pull it to the opposite side, ang gagawin niya is, i-clear niya yung area na yun. And I can pull it diretso, sobrahan ko na siya, para sure ako na kumbaga lahat na madadaanan niya, madidelete niya. Kumbaga straight tunnel siya. So I just, pwede naman sakto nyo dito, pero para sa akin, para sure, sinosobran ko na siya. Para ganyan. And what happens is, you have a clean tunnel, no? Or clean hole. Right? So okay na tayo dyan. And it's still one object, no? If you look at the properties tab, one object lang siya. Okay? Now at this point, pwede na natin i-clean up, delete natin yung other line. So I can do right click ko to, hide objects. And ito, reference, hindi na natin gagamitin to. Pwede natin i-retain lang kasi doon sa multi-view projection naman, hindi naman lumilitaw itong mga lines, no? Pero just to make it cleaner, no, yung work natin, I'll just delete this para pag nag-isolate ako, tas end object isolation, I have a clean one object lang. Right? So that's the first part, creating the model itself. So you have to do this multiple times para ma-create yung model na gusto nyo, yung para sa final project nyo or sa project number 2. And after you've created the model, we now go into the paper space, no, or yung layout. Okay? So right now, nasa model space tayo. So this is the model space. Now we go into the layout. Okay? We can probably delete the reference na din, no? Or kung ayaw natin i-delete siya, pwede sigurong gawin ko is, I'll just right click. Pwede ba itong wait, sorry. Isolate, hide ko lang yung object para sure ako na hindi siya lilitaw dito sa model space ko. Okay? And just to double check, kung i-end ko siya, lumilitaw kasi siya, no? And we don't want that. So, gusto ko ito, pwede delete, pero right now, hide ko lang muna siya para pag nandito siya, dito siya kita sa paper space natin. This is what we call as a viewport, no? Pero for now, hindi natin kailangan yung viewport na to kasi we'll be doing something called the view base na command. And the view base actually requires a inventor plugin. So the first time na i-access nyo yung view base command, ipaprompt kayo na mag-install ng plugin, and you'll have to wait for it to finish completing the installation, tapos i-restart nyo yung PC nyo. Unfortunately for Mac na users, pag Mac OS, wala kasing inventor plugin ang AutoCAD version, you know, so you'll have to use a Windows device. Okay, you can also come to the computer lab. The computer lab will be open this week, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. no, and we can use it para pwede nating to do our final project. Alright, so gagawin natin is, let's just delete this first, itong viewport, hindi natin kailangan yan. So we end up with this one. Tapos, ang gagawin natin is we go into the base. So, dito sa layout commands. So, ano nangyari? Na-double click ko kasi. Wait, yan. So, dito, this is where we create our projections, no? Or our multi-view projections. So, before we do anything, baguhin muna natin yung standards natin. Kasi by default, if you click on this one, itong, hindi nyo pala kita. Sorry. Let me show the ribbon. Yan. If you go into this styles and standards, click nyo lang siya. You'll notice na yung projection type natin will be first angle projection yung by default. And sa ES1 kasi, we are using third angle projection. No? So, kailangan natin baguhin to into third angle projection. Okay? So, we press, again, click on third angle projection, press OK. Now, we can begin to create our multi-view projection. Now, what we do is we create this, we create a view using this command. And pwede ding i-type nyo, no? It's view base yung pangalan ng command. But you can also click this one. So, let's just click it. And let's get it from the model space. So, whatever is in the model space, which is yun na dito, will be taken for the creation of this, itong view base na to. Okay? So, again, by default, at the start, kung hindi pa na-install yung inventor plugin nyo, the first time na i-click nyo to, and from model space, magpa-prompt siya na that it needs to install. So, follow nyo lang yung instruction, install nyo siya, then you restart your work, save your work, then restart your computer, tapos pwede nyo na magamit ito. Okay? So, the view base, you need to specify kung ano yung parent nyo, no? So, meron kayong parang parent view, and that from that parent view, magkikreate tayo ng additional views. So, yung right side view, top view, and the isometric view. So, ang gagawin lang natin is, usually, kasi if we want to follow the ES1 parang format, no? Usually, we want to click the front view as our parent. So, dito sa orientation, pili tayo ng front. So there's a bunch of options, no? May southwest as isometric, southeast, northeast, northwest, etc., etc. Kailangan natin is yung front if we want to follow the sort of ES1 standard, no? So front yung pipiliin natin. Tapos gawin natin is it will recommend you a certain parang scale. Ito 1:2 yung scale na ni-recommend niya na yun daw yung pasok. I think okay din naman ang 1:2, no? If I zoom out, mukhang based on the estimate. But don't worry kasi pwede naman baguhin to. If in case na mali yung napili palang scale tapos kulang pala siya, hindi mag-fit yung object. You can always change the scale later on, no? And wala namang magbabago sa sa objects. Okay? So I'll just select the front view. The front view is usually here, no? Yung FRP natin. So I'll select it there. Then press enter. Tapos from here, if I move upwards, I create the top view. If I move to the right, I'll create the front view. If I move upper left or upper right, I will create the isometric view. Okay? And I'm looking at it now. Parang mali yung napili niya. Wait lang ha. Let me look at the model space. Kasi yung front ko is this one. So my right side view would be this one. Pero what I really want is dapat ito yung front ko, no? Ito nandito. Kasi based on sa if I just look at this end object isolation, ito, based on this isometric view, yung front mo is actually this one, no? Tapos ito right side view. So mali yung orientation na ginawa ko yung object, which is okay lang, kayang-kaya natin reorient, no? So ang gusto ko is I want this one to be the front view, which is right now is the left side view, no? Okay? So to correct this, gagawin lang natin is we just do a 3D rotate command, no? So if I select this object, tapos I type in 3D rotate. Yan. Then I'll just select the axis that I want to rotate. So in this case, gusto ko i-select itong blue, no? Kasi gusto kong... So there are three, kung makikita nyo, may blue, may green, and may red. So si red would be the x-axis, meaning si x yung yung axis of rotation. Tapos si blue would be the z, and green would be the y. So gusto natin si blue kasi gusto natin siya i-rotate around the z-axis, no? So I'll click this one. And you can manually rotate it, no? Or ang gagawin natin is rotate tayo ng specific angle, and I want to rotate it by 90. So I'll just type in 90, no? So 90. If I type in 90 and press enter, I should have successfully baliktad. Kasi ang nangyari is yung sa front is yung nasa likod, no? Which is not what I want. So I'll just Control Z muna. Again, 3D rotate. 3D rotate. Then I'll click the blue one. Tapos ang gawin ko is instead of 90, tama naman pala. Baka na magkamali lang. Yan. Parang naging okay na ngayon. Baka mali lang yung first rotation ko nung mouse ko, no? Kaya siya hindi naging successful. So if I look at it now, tama na, no? That's the front view. This is the right side view. And the top view is this one. Okay? So if I look at the northeast isometric, this should be now my ES1 isometric. So, pwede nating ulitin yun, no? So, let's do layout muna. Again, you can use the view-based command or pwedeng i-click nyo lang to from model space. Then we do front. Yan. And this will be too large, no? Pero ito, good example to show na pwede natin baguhin yung scale afterwards, no? So, yan. Enter natin. Then I'll select the right side view, which is this one. Top view, this one. And the isometric would be this one. Okay, and press enter. Now again, masyadong malaki, no? Yung objects natin. Lagpas na tayo sa space. So, pwede natin gawin is click the parent, which is this one. Edit view. Tapos, gawin natin is 1:2 yung gawin natin. And that will make it a little smaller. And now, we can adjust, no? Pwede natin galawin to. Just click the handles. Ito. Yan. And it will be okay na siya. And it already gives you the hidden lines, no? Parang available niya siya sa atin. This one, if you look at it, parang this is the isometric view. Hindi natin gusto na may hidden lines dito, no? So what we can do is we can double click, then lalabas ito, hidden lines, and what we want is visible lines lang dapat. Parang something like that, and that will be a better na view, no? Okay? So that's how you create the multi-view. It's quite easy, no? As long as you created the object properly, dapat tama din yung lalabas na dito sa multi-view natin. Okay? And in fact, if you made a mistake, kunwari, nagkamali pala kayo sa, may something dito na mali kayo, tapos gusto nyo i-edit. If you edit it here, dito sa model space, the actual dito sa paper space natin will actually be updated as well. So, let's say, for example, kunwari lang, I'll just dagdagan ko lang to ng parang random na cylinder dyan. Kunwari lang, dadagdag tayo. If you look at it, automatically, nadagdag na rin dito sa paper space natin. That's why it's quite easy to do it in AutoCAD, no? Pero the caveat is that you need to have a properly modeled na object dito sa model space. Right? So, undo ko lang siya. We don't want that. Okay? And probably I'll do hide ko ulit to. Okay? So that's how you do multi-view projections. Quite easy, no? Now, I'll also teach you how to do sectional views, and I'll do it in a separate view muna, no? So, or separate layout. So let's do layout number 2 dito. Again, I'll just delete the viewport, in default viewport. Hindi ko kailangan yon. So what I'll do is we need to create a initial na view muna, no? Usually for objects like this, when we want to section, kunwari ito, pagka tiningnan mo, the best sectional view would be created along this line, no? Parang pag ganyan. Yan yung best na sectional view that you can create. Tama? So, pwede natin gawin, yung parent view natin ngayon for this layout should be the top view, no? So, I'll just do, again, layout tayo. I'll do base, tapos from model space, and I'll select the top view. Pipiliin ko yung top view dito, no? Para pwede kong ilagay dito. So, I'll just press enter. Tapos, I don't want any additional view, so pwedeng diretso enter lang ako. Okay? So, yan na yung top view ko. So, what I want is I want to create a section, no? So, you can create this one. Pwede natin i-select ito. Tapos, we can select different na options, no? May full section tayo, may half section tayo, may offset, and may aligned. Pero yung safest I found out was etong from object, no? The full section works normally, half section also works normally, pati offset. Pero for some reason, pag nag-align section kayo gamit dito, hindi properly hatched yung lumalabas na object, no? So, it's always safer to do from object. Okay? Pero for this case, kasi sobrang simple ng object natin, isang full section lang din naman gagawin natin. Let's just do full section. Sige, ito na lang. From object na lang yung ipipiliin ko kasi ito yung mas general, kumbaga. So, I'll just do from object. Select the parent view, which is this one. Select it. And I think okay na tayo sa selection. So, enter. Then, we select kung saan natin gusto i-section. Now, for this particular case, and this is, it requires a bit of engineering, siguro, know-how or parang intuition kung saan nyo i-section yung object nyo. Okay? Kasi ang purpose naman of doing sectional views in the first place is that we want to eliminate hidden lines. Tama? Kasi gusto natin ipakita yung object yung internal features ng object natin in a more in a better way, kumbaga. So, more on the concept behind it, panoorin nyo yung video ulit na pinost ko if you want a more detailed, dito, ipapakita ko lang how we do it, no? Ito, ang most appropriate if you want to show the internal sections, itong internal feature na to, itong hole na to, and itong hole na to, is just to do a full section straight at the middle, no? So, I can select this. If hindi siya lumabas yung quadrant, you can change your object snapping option, no? Ito, naka-enable sa akin yung quadrant na kasi. Okay? So, ito, I'll select from here. Tapos, I'll select to the other side. Okay? And I can press enter, no? Now, I can make the section onto the left side or I can make it on the right side depending on saan ko siya igagalaw, no? So, I'll just move it dito sa side na to para mas malaki yung space. And I press enter. And now, I should have a properly sectioned na object. And this is my sectional view. Okay, notice how kita siya dito, kita yung section, and we have to create, ang kulang na lang dito is yung center lines, no? So we can create our own center lines. So we can do center line and select the first line, which is this one, and if I can select that one, and it automatically creates a center line, no? Okay, so the command is center line. So again, let's do that. Hindi ko sure kung nandito siya sa ano sa draw commands. Let me look for it, no? Pag nasa ano ata kayo, if you're doing the drafting annotations, alam ko may center annotation ata yun Annotate. Ito ata, center mark and center lines. Ito, hindi ko pala naturo to sa in class, no? Pero you can actually automatically create center lines and center marks using this command right here, no? Center line and center mark. Pero it only appears sa 2D. So, pag naka 3D modeling kayo, hindi ko alam kung saan siya nakatago na na options. Pero kahit hindi siya nakatago kahit nakatago siya sa ribbon, we can always access it using our shortcuts. So, I'll just type in the command line center line. Tapos para makuha yung center line, I'll just select this one and this one so that in between those two lines, mag-create siya ng center line, which is the pattern we are looking for, no? Yung long, short, long. So this is long, short, long, and that's how we do center lines. Okay? And let's do a center mark din dito. So we do center mark. I think that's the command. Yeah, center mark. And we select the circle for the center mark. And it automatically gives us the center mark as well. So yan na siya. Okay? So with that, complete na tong object na to. Again, it's quite easy to create sectional views, and the good thing about sectional views, much like the ito multi-view and the isometric view, is that pagka inedit nyo yung object nyo, it will also appear here, no? So for example, let's just do the same thing we did earlier, no? Gumawa tayo ng cylinder, kunwari. O sige, let's try another thing. Let's try to explore other objects, like for example, itong cone, kunwari. If we try to do a cone, ganyan, it should automatically appear dito. And notice how ito, and this is a good place to, this is a good point to illustrate kung bakit, if you look at this, no, iba yung hatching nito versus a hatching nito. It's because it's treated as two separate objects. Again, if I click this and I go into the properties tab, you can see na two solid objects siya. Okay, solid objects 2, meaning two separate to. So that's why AutoCAD treats it as separate objects. And if you have separate objects, makikita nyo na may line separating it, as well as magkaiba yung orientation ng hatching nila. Okay, so if you want this to be one object, and let's see the difference, no? Gagawin natin is union command. Select natin, enter. And notice how naging isa na, nawala na yung line dito separating it, and yung hatching nila consistent na across, because now it's considered as one object. Right? See the difference? So that's why it's very important na dapat kapag nag-ano kayo, nagmo-model, dapat naka-union siya. Kung separate models to, and right now hindi ko na mapapakita sa inyo, no, pero kung kunwari kanina na apat to na separate na objects, dapat ang lilitaw dito parang na separate siya by a line, no? Ito different object to versus this object right here, tapos ito separate din na object. Mangyayari is hindi consistent na hatching, na considered as one siya. Okay? So, I think that's all, no? For modeling, and we can create different depending on the object, no? Maybe I'll try to create one more video na kumbaga try ko ipakita sa inyo yung kunwari aligned section, kung paano siya nagwo-work. Pero for now, full section for this video, and ko muna with this example. Try ko mag-create ng another example, no? Maybe a more complicated one. Hanap lang muna ako ng isang example na pwede natin gawin. We can do same as this video, no? Gawa tayo ng from model, gawin natin siya, then from the model create tayo ng multi-view plus isometric, and then create tayo ng sectional view. Okay, that's all for this part 1, and abangan nyo na lang yung next video ko. Thank you.